Well, hello there. Well, David, do unmute yourself when you get a chance.
I was busy in the chat. My bad.
Oh, I see.
Well,
hello, Mr. David T. Stevens.
Good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, or who knows? Good tomorrow. Good morrow.
Whatever time zone that might be on. Yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be exciting. Thank you, David, for joining me. I wanted to kind of sort of bring a bit of a Texan flavor to my AI Sparks and Speaks because I had those live streams and I kind of got tired of talking by myself.
Should I go get my hat? Should I put my...
Yeah, where is your hat?
It's all the way on the other side of the house.
All right, well, next time. Anyway, for everyone that's joining us, we want to give you a minute to drop in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? And we're excited that you're here. We want to make sure that, oh, look at Claire. Thank you for joining us, Claire, all the way from Bristol in the UK. Is it raining? Is it foggy? How is it? I know you just came from IMAX. I want to hear how IMAX was. Oregon Corvallis, yay. Those are my Oregon friends. Wow, we have people from Canada. That's amazing. So cool. You know what, David? This is so cool that I don't have to do the comments on the screen. Hi, Epi from Phoenix, Arizona. It's such a great help. Look at you. Yes. Dallas, we definitely have some of your friends representing and joining us from Dallas. That's awesome. So, David, you just came from some event. I feel like there's always some event that you come from. So I want to hear how that went in just a few words. And while everybody's still trickling in, and just a few of housekeeping notes. If you see me turning this way, that's where all my LinkedIn comments are. We also have people joining from Facebook. If you're joining from Facebook, say hi. YouTube as well. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty after just going a bit over what has happened in the AI news just this week. A lot of things have happened. But David, I want to hear from you. Where did you come? What was your last event?
So I just helped a friend execute an event for an open source data community that was 2 days of digital content. She's working on a blog post about the results, but I'll give you a little preview because digital events are apparently far from dead in the sense that they had like 3,500 people register. They had, it might have broke 60% that showed up, which was great because day one we had over 50%, which was already mind blowing. And then our numbers went up the next day, which means people who missed day one showed up for day two. But the big thing, the big takeaway was they were really, really, really meticulous with content. Like there were no sponsored sessions. There were no sales pitches allowed. They literally told people, if your session starts to turn into a sales pitch, we will cut you off. We will end the stream. We'll remove you from the stage. And even the comments, that's a large part of what we were doing was moderating the content so that sponsors didn't show up and been like, blah, 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 blah. The idea was to keep it authentic for this developer community, and it was incredible.
That's fantastic. It's good to hear that feedback because I do actually stream quite a few virtual events from my home studio as well. And they're all range anywhere from small workshops, Zoom meetings, Zoom events, all the way to large conferences, which obviously requires additional support and help from a team of partners that I rely on. So with that being said, anyone that said that virtual events are going away, this is proof that's not necessarily factual.
Digital events.
I know you care for digital events. I'm still going to call them virtual. I don't know what to tell you. That's the old me from 2020 running virtual events like nobody's business.
Yeah, well, I'll die on that LinkedIn post.
Well, let's get back to our AI friends. I'm wondering, did you implement any AI tools to support that digital event? I know you
I
used a
was
certain platform, and they
I
do
was
have
I
some
was
AI
just
powered tools.
I was really just the help. Like, I helped execute. When we were talking, she used AI for a lot of the copywriting and things of that nature to just kind of help save her time, which is a perfect segue, right? Like, they launched this thing with, I think, 6 or 8 weeks. So she did not have a lot of time as it was. So she used it and she was responsible for all the event marketing of it as well. So that's what was really helpful to her.
That's cool. All right. I see Amelia is like +1 to digital. Or did you just take it over virtual? I guess we're going to have to take a voting here. Okay, let's get back to AI. This is not going to be a digital versus virtual battle, just to make it clear. I want to hear from you, anyone that's joining us in chat, anyone that's going to be joining us later. What are some of the AI tools that you're using, or your comfort level with AI? I would love to see that in the chat. And while you do that, I want to touch on a few things that have happened this week. I mean, this week was huge for AI, and anybody that is in tune with all the latest updates, you know that on May 13, OpenAI introduced their flagship GPT-0.40. And I got access on Monday to it before I even got to read the news that just came out of the spring update event that they had. And I was like, ooh, what is this new thing? And I'm already running tests, because usually when I do any query in ChatGPT, I usually run it against another LLM to fact check it. So I'm doing all this tasks in this new GPT-4.0, and it's been doing great. So my task was against Gemini, which happened to also be released. Gemini 1.5 Pro was released the very next day. I guess Google was like, wait a second, they beat us to it. Let's throw our event really fast and do
I
our
have
release.
a question.
Yeah.
So I watched most of that video. Like, what does 4.0 even stand for? Do we know?
Well, I know that, right, we have GPT-4.
Right.
And let's ask ChatGPT. I mean, you should definitely put that in there. Let's see.
I'm gonna go ask it right now.
Go. Let's add it to stage here. I'm gonna switch the view on this side. There you go. And then let's ask it, what does O stand for in?
Like, I was like, where did this even come from?
Oh, it's optimized.
We had a guess.
Okay. Now you know. It's the optimized version of the GPT architecture.
Are you telling me I've been paying for sub-optimized all this time?
Apparently, right. So the really big news out of this, though, was the fact that they were making this free, and I'm not sure if it's yet free for everyone, because I tried to log in with a different account or use it with a different account, and it didn't seem to be free yet for someone that is not a premium account. I'm curious if anybody tried it as a non-paid account and if it's available to them. But it wasn't when I was testing it yesterday, just to get an idea if they released it. They did say that it's going to be released in the upcoming weeks. So everything that was announced during the spring upgrade was going to happen on a schedule eventually. But anyway, what was super cool about this release is that when I was doing my own comparison, because again, like I said, I would take any LLM and fact check it against another LLM. So for me, my go-to would be if it's ChatGPT, I would go and fact check it against Gemini or Perplexity or Grok, just to get, make sure that what I'm getting is not hallucinations, and the things that I'm asking it to do are factual. So when I was running my own testing, what I have found was that it has performed many common sense reasoning and multi-model tests. And that was just against Gemini 1.5 because I spent time on that. And it did perform way better than Gemini 1.5 Pro in a variety of tasks, including reasoning, code generation, multi-model understanding, and more. If you're curious about what kind of test I have run, it's in a post that's coming up soon, or I can send you that separately. We'll have a feedback form that we'd love to hear from you, so we can get you some of that. But before we get into our building our own GPT, which is something that both me and David have done, I think, right when that function was available. Do you remember when you built yours, David?
It was after, because
Yours was after. Okay, yeah, you were
I'm
like,
old
I am
and
not doing
slow to
this. And then I'm like, yes, you need to be doing this. And then eventually did it. Are you using
Well,
it
I think
in
we
your
should set the
searches?
stage a little bit on our technology levels between the two of us, because I think it's worth sharing for people who are new to this or are weary. Here's how a conversation between Anka and I go, because we talk frequently, because her company edits all my podcast episodes, and we both are on the same I want to say something bigger than mission. I'm going to say crusade about bringing wellness to the events world. But she is like, David, you need to be doing blah, 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 blah. And she rattles off all these things, and it gives me anxiety. And I go, stop. Like, you're making me anxious. I already feel like I'm doing too much. And then like 3 weeks later, I go, oh my God, I had this great idea. And she goes, that's what I told you about. And
That's what
that's
I told you.
usually
This
how
is
it goes.
It
So
sounds like a conversation I would have with my husband the same way. It's like, hey, you should be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And I see the future, right? And a month later, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm like,
well, that's
thanks
a
for giving
whole,
me credit.
let's unpack that. That's a whole different thing. But what I was framing it as is I built mine probably 6 weeks after you built yours.
Okay, that's fair. But you know what? You've been coming a long way, because I remember when I deployed my first AI avatar for my podcast to do my introduction, you literally freaked out. You looked at
I
it
said
and
I
it's like,
hated it because it didn't have your accent, which made me feel weird. It like was unnerving.
yeah, I'm still working on that. I think a lot of the AI avatars generators are definitely struggling with ethnic people or people that speak a different language, and then it doesn't sound proper English. And I'm proud of my accent. I mean, you got to give back my accent. My AI avatar has to sound like me. Right now, it looks a whole lot like me, but it doesn't necessarily sound like me. But going back to what we were talking about.
By the way, Dana said that she got 4.0 as a free account holder already.
Ooh, way to go, Dana. I'm wondering if everybody else can tap into, let's put the link there. And if you have not yet played with ChatGPT, definitely go to this address that we're going to drop in the chat and see if you have access to the 4.0 model, optimized model, because this is the one that we're going to use to build upon for this custom GPT. So the reason why we want a custom GPT, let's get into that, David, because some people might be wondering, like, why would you want a GPT, right? It's like a custom GPT. So I want to hear, once you got to terms that AI is the future, why did you decide to build the Wellness at Events GPT?
Yeah.
And I'm going to share screen really quick here.
I built this because it finally dawned on me that it was going to save me time and help me scale. It's much like the AI tool I use to create my clips, so I can upload my long form podcast. It spits out a bunch of short form clips. I review them, which is always important with any AI tool. Review whatever the results it is that it gives you. And then now I can post videos. I posted a snippet today from the chat with Janice Cardinelli on this month's episode of the podcast. But what then I started doing was I went, wait, this can probably save me more time if I put a little more effort into just using the existing model and actually teach it to be like me a little more. So what I did was I thought I'd try it, and I spun up my own version that I started training on all my YouTube videos, on all my LinkedIn posts, on the articles I had been included in. I really wanted it to have my voice, so that when I did things, like if I put together some short form content, I could take that transcript and feed it to ChatGPT, and it would write a LinkedIn article for me based on that transcript that sounded like me, that wrote like I write. And so it would then break that down. And then the other thing I've been able to do is now I can take an episode in its long form, and like I've gone all in at this point, where I now use an avatar as an introduction on my episodes. So I will extract, or I get the transcript of the event. I then put it into my ChatGPT to help train it. Then I ask it to summarize that transcript. It summarizes it in my voice. And then I use that summary as a script for a digital avatar. And then I use that video as the introduction episode for my podcast episodes. So, but
so probably we lost some people as you explain all of this, but the good news is I have my AI Sparks and Speaks episode 4 that is available on the LinkedIn page, my own personal LinkedIn page, and on YouTube, where I explain those steps and how it's done, so that if you do want to incorporate some of the AI tools, especially for content creation, I know we have a few podcasters in here that would benefit from updating their workflow, so they can have more bandwidth and time for brainstorming. Like for me, the biggest thing that I feel like the biggest gain when I'm looking at AI tools and how can I effectively do something that I have done maybe the same old way for a very long time, is what is the time save that I get? What is the money save? What is the ROI, right? So just practically, if I do gain 2 hours in my day by either creating some automation or workflows or even some type of a easy way for content to be generated, created, and getting it out there without a lot of time-consuming steps, I'm all for it, because then I can take those 2 hours, if I had those extra time, and spend it on other ways. Like, for example, either spend time with my kids, or if they're in school, I would go into the gym. Now I have time to go and work out and not feel guilty that I took time away from my work, because there's so much things to be done, right? It's like I'm optimizing, talking about optimization, my own workflow to create space and bandwidth in my own schedule to do the things that I love, to do the things that I'm passionate about.
We have a question, by the way.
Yes.
Can you show the side menu again?
Yes.
It's from Dana. She asked.
Yeah. So this is where I have pinned my own GPTs that I normally use. By the way, I just created this natural bodybuilding coach because if you don't know, I am a natural bodybuilding competitor.
Everyone knows.
So I wanted to make it easy, not just for myself, but for others that have had a hard time with a lot of the misinformation when it comes to nutrition, supplement, workout routine, all of that. For anyone that's competitive.
But to answer your question, Dana, sorry to jump in here. That's where all your pinned GPTs live.
Yes.
You add them to the bar, and then below are all your chats.
And then below you have all your saved chats. You can also go to explore new GPTs on this side. And I made this text super, super big. So hopefully you can read it. I think actually 𝗪𝘵𝗁𝗁𝗪 was the first custom GPT that I used, and then I use Event Planner. Fig Royale, I don't know who that is, but you did a great job with that GPT. And then diagrams, this is one of my favorite because it creates those amazing mind maps. And I do a bit of writing, so that helps me. Hey, where is Brian Mohanigan? We have to create a GPT for you for your writing coach business, because this would be amazing for you. And then, like I said, natural bodybuilding, before David interrupted my train of thought, and now I don't know what I was saying with it, but you can try it.
Shamelessly plugging it. It's fine.
You tested it. You liked it. You're like, oh, I do need to lower my carbs. My macros are all over the place. Let's see what I need to do here. But hey, enough talk. I think we're like 20 minutes in. We didn't start working on what we said we would. So here's the question for all of you. I want to know what GPT we should be building. So if you have thoughts, drop them in the chat and be as specific as possible, because we want to build something that could be useful, right? So if we're gonna post it into the GPT marketplace, it better be useful and not just a crappy GPT that nobody wants to use. But while we do that, did you drop that in the chat? I want to hear your reasoning for why would you care to save time in your day, David, if you can automate some of the tasks and workflows.
So I can nap, mostly. No, it's like, who doesn't need more time? In the event planning world, it is always something constantly, and any way that I can be more efficient or creative is a big deal to me. So the other thing is, sometimes I'll get a hotel's menus and they're terrible, and you can just go in and give it the location as to where you are and what you're looking for, and it will start creating menus that that are helpful, like, or activities. Or honestly, one of the things I use it for is if I'm leading a workout at an event, which sometimes I do, or I'll be attending and they're like, hey, you're here, can you do something, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. And I'll just be like, hey, and I ask my wellness GPT, can you build me out a routine that's this long, is okay for people in business attire, blah, blah, blah. And it'll just spit one out.
Yeah.
So we got a couple things that came in here.
I see that. Awesome.
And those are significantly different. I love it.
All right, so I'm going to address really quick, Dana. Dana, this is something that even your regular GPT can do. And it just goes into prompting it the right way. And actually, I have a list of prompts that I'm more than happy to share with a lot of you if you're into wanting to do prompting. This is going to be, can you put that link in the chat? It has probably 200 or something prompts already done. All you have to do is just copy and paste. And it goes anywhere from copywriting frameworks to pitching to cold DMing to, I don't know, YouTube ad scripts to email marketing, all the things that I've been sort of doing, running this business, it's there. So if you're a life coach, if you want to be motivational, if you want to, I don't know, do social media better and you're out of prompts, a lot of the stuff you can get. And I have a link there. What I'm asking is 15 minutes of your time in June, because I would like to talk about what tools you could be implementing into your workflow to making your own workflow optimized and really take advantage of all the things that we're saying about saving time, saving money. So there's that. Let's see. Did we get anything where we should build something that is more specific? So let me go back.
We got a couple more suggestions. We got one from Claire.
Okay.
Around content. And
okay.
we also got another one around video production, which I think you
Cool.
might already, your GPT might already help with that one.
Yeah, so the AV Production GPT has all of that content. Katerina, I hope I'm saying that right. You can use the link that was dropped in the chat and play with it. And I would love your feedback because I'm still collecting feedback for it. I think it has about 100 conversations. But again, the more the better because it's learning it.
I think we have a winner, though, because this one has the most thumbs up in the comments. And that is a GPT for healthcare and aging/weight loss premenopausal.
Okay, all right. Gianna, oh, I know Gianna. Hi, Gianna's a nurse. I love it. Okay, so let's give Gianna, I'm going to lean on you on this because you have probably some resources that if you were to give some advice on that, you would go to, right? But this is something that's important when you train a GPT. Now, if it's your own, let's make the distinction between creating a custom GPT that is trained upon your own data set versus a custom GPT that's trained on some data set that's available on the internet, or maybe it's available in some scientific papers. Both David and I, we have a large data set that we worked on our own respective fields, right? So for the AV Production GPT, what I did, when you go into the back of it here, let's go really quick and look at what under the hood looks like. There is a way to, when you create it, you would do a lot of steps. And this is something that I wanted to do practically when we built this GPT. And then you can configure it. But when you configure it, you also enter a lot of knowledge, right? So this is based on a lot of blogs, a lot of conversations, a lot of technical knowledge. And it's about 15 years or so worth of content that I've been working on just on in AV alone, right? Same thing with David. David has some, can you talk to that? Scientific papers that were written?
Yeah, so we did a white paper off a bunch of research we did. And so then what we did was not only upload the white paper, but then we also uploaded all the studies and the research that was referenced in that white paper so that it's all there. And as new studies come out, I will upload those studies to it to ensure it keeps getting, let's call it smarter, and keeps getting more up-to-date information. Like there was something I saw today about the fact that DNA diets are unsubstantial. Like there's this idea that if you eat for your DNA, no, it doesn't matter. Basic nutritional guidelines are still the most effective. So that's a great study. I'm going to upload that study to the back end so it can reference that in future learnings. So I always, whenever I find something really exciting, there was a McKinsey report that came out not too long ago. It was a 12-page PDF on the state of wellness and the market cap of $1.8 trillion and all that stuff. I want that information in my GPT so it knows to reference that when appropriate.
Right. So what we were saying, Gianna, is if you have specific links, can you drop them in the chat so that we can use it, so we can build this GPT? And like anyone would do when they want to do something new, you would go to ChatGPT and you would ask it, hey, here's what I want to do. Where should I start? So I basically put this prompt in the optimized version of ChatGPT, and those are some really good starting points. First, you want to define the audience. Who is it going to be for, right? So is this healthcare providers? Is it patients? Is it researchers? Because based on that, that will dictate how, specific, scientific, practical you might get. Then you want to define its purpose. What problems are we solving here? Are we providing medical advice? Which again, probably because we're not medical professionals, we're not going to want to do that. You should always consult your doctor and implement any of the things that you either read on the internet or in any advice you get from ChatGPT? Or should it suggest lifestyle changes?
I
You
don't
did
believe
mention weight loss.
WebMD, let alone an AI tool. So like, yes,
Right.
always check with your actual doctor on anything ever.
Yeah. And then what topics will it cover, right? We're talking about hormonal changes. We're talking about skincare, diet, exercise. This is fun for a event related workshop, because I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, my bodybuilding natural GPT probably covers a bit of this, because it was trained on some of the natural data, holistic wellness and whatnot, just because it has to do with natural lifestyle changes. So I'd be curious if that's in there. We can ask it later. But again, all of this where you want to do a bit of legwork before you start any creation, right? Now you have to gather the data. If you don't have content or data that you yourself, right, have generated, like me and David have talked about, then you're going to want to lean on medical literature, guidelines, protocols, expert opinions, patient experiences, all of that, so that you create that data set that is going to pull from. Now, because it's an overall GPT, it will also go into places like the internet to collect its data. But the more specific information to the goal, to the purpose, to the scope of the work you can give it, the better customized it is, right? So do you want to add anything to that?
No, but I think we did just get a great question.
Yes. Let's go for it.
The question is, if I train ChatGPT on my work and it learns and copies my style, who obtains the right on, one, this particular ChatGPT, and two, all the outcomes it produces?
I feel like that's a great question, and it's in a very gray area right now. It definitely brings up considerations to ethical AI. And as a matter of fact, when you create a custom GPT, you can also make it private. So let's say, Ekaterina, what you want to share is only with your clients or only with a small group of people, or maybe your internal team. If you manage a team, you don't have to post that on the marketplace. You don't have to make it public. You can create a private GPT that only your internal team, your internal, whatever it is, the context of your situation is, you can share that. So that's great as a small business owner, for example. If you want to incorporate that as a like the best frequently asked question inventory of all things that you can create about your services, about the products or services that you produce, and then you only share it with your clients. So that way kind of keeps all that outcome, all the rights, all the particular information that might be one way or another sensitive information. It keeps it from the outside world. Does that answer your question? Do you want to add something to that, David?
Well, I was going to say there's also a setting in there that you can check or uncheck that says, use my training to update GPT.
Right. So let's get started with this, David. Do you want to share your screen to get going with one? Because I think, let's see, let me remove mine.
Okay. Share screen. Okay, and I was in here in my settings at the time. I was trying to find where it was because I saw it.
Can you increase
here we go.
the size?
See,
increase the size to 150 in your browser, or 125. The other way.
Wrong way. There's one.
To your question, Dana, absolutely yes. That's actually a lot of the data set that I have trained mine on. It comes all from PDF, but you can also include links if you use the code interpreter. This is that little capabilities, right? So the code interpreter over there, when you check it, then if you include links, it will go on the internet and search that resource and learn from that resource. And as David was showing here, when it trained it, when he went to creating it, he was using specific links, and it let it basically learn the information from those links and update its data set.
Yeah, and here's that setting I was talking about. Use conversation data in your GPT to improve our model. You can remove that so that it's, but full disclosure, it's the internet. Is anything really private?
Right.
Okay. So we're gonna make one?
Yeah, let's make one.
Okay. See, I was testing your GPT yesterday. Let's I'm trying to remember how to even do this.
It's at the bottom of your chatting there under your account. And I was trying to get to it, to be honest. And I was like, where did it go?
Oh, here we go.
My GPTs, and then customize or whatever in the menu. That's your GPT. But then you can create at the top, create a GPT, right? Do you want me to share that?
Why am I missing it?
Okay. So like they just moved the menu. Literally, they just moved it. And I was looking at it a second ago. So like here in the top right, see under GPTs.
Oh, are you sharing your screen now? Sorry, I'm still online.
Yeah.
I was trying to find it.
Yeah, but did you see that? The create?
No, I didn't even see it.
Okay. Look at the screen. Look at the screen, David. Look at the screen.
I'm looking. It's over here, so I'm looking.
Okay, we're creating a. Okay, how shall we call out GPT? Gianna, if you are taking point on this, we need more input. And I need
Let's just call it Demo GPT for now.
Demo. Okay, let's.
We can always rename it
if you want. Okay. I want to make sure that, okay, this is where we need to give it a description. What does this GPT do? It will help with, what did we say we wanted to do? I gotta go back in the chat.
It was healthcare.
Okay. It will provide, it will generate healthcare tips for anti-aging, weight loss for is it premenopausal?
I put it on the screen for you.
Okay, thank you. I also have long nails that I was trying to make you do this, so I don't like literally. I type like a dinosaur. Okay, so this is where we got to give you some instructions, right? So I would want to be specific about, and I can even ask it if I am to create a, let's go into another instance here of ChatGPT. And I'm just going to go literally to out of this, get out into ChatGPT, the regular one, and ask it, if I were to create a GPT that will generate blah, 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 then we want to know like what instructions should I give it? Again, I'm coming at this as a rookie because I am not a medical professional. Are you a medical professional, David? I feel like you did take the CPR class somewhere.
I'm medical professional adjacent.
Okay, there you go. So you would know more. So you would want to, give it some specific, like this, that generates healthcare tips for anti-aging, weight loss, for requires clear, specific instructions to ensure the information accurate, helpful, and safe. Like I said, that's very, very important. So we would.
Well, also, Gianna put in the comments that the Bible for medical info is up to date. Oh, is up to date website. but
but you have to pay for it. Okay.
I wonder what that, Gianna, what are you referring to? They might have some like PDFs that we can show people how to upload.
Do you want to go to that website and show it?
I'll look right now while you're doing this.
Okay. Okay. Actually, this is actually, I literally pressed the wrong thing. So instead of going, can we do like 3 steps back? Instead of going to configuring it, this is where you get help from the GPT itself to start it, right? So like I did here, I'm gonna go and copy this and put it into the creation part, because this will help you with what exactly trying to make. And since this is a brand new GPT that I have no idea where to start with, I'm just gonna ask it, right? So here's some key instructions. So it basically gives a bit of the information that I already got from the other instance of GPT, but at least now it's going to take it into account when it's creating it. So this is where the helpful part comes, because here what I did, right? I mean, you could do this, but what happens here, when you configure it, you should already have the answers to all of this, right? So instead of me doing this, I'm going to come here and ask it, because he will ask you, what would you like to proceed with this instruction? So we have the name. We're going to call it.
What I can find is called the Canon of Medicine, and it's a series of books.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find if I can just see if there's a PDF somewhere.
Okay. And here's the cool part where it's creating a profile picture for it. Probably this is going to be as generic as it gets. But the good news is you can always go and regenerate it. And when I created my bodybuilding GPT the other day, I got, I think this is actually kind of cool. I got an image that I wasn't so happy with, and I just kept going with it and reprompting it to give me something more specific, something more on brand. I gave it some hex color codes and whatnot. So if we're happy with this, we can just go with it. And do I have a yay or do I have a nay? What do you think, David? Do we like this or no? Is
no,
it?
I don't like it.
We don't like it? We don't like it. What don't we like? Too blue? Why is she so like?
Yeah, like she has weird colors on her face.
Yeah, we want a simpler, more honest image. Let's see what that means. Okay, do we have any other questions that we should be addressing while this is happening? I have a do you have something you've written? But yeah, we answered that. Do we have any other question? If you have questions, please drop them in the chat so we can.
I like that way better.
You like that? Okay, that looks okay. Very plain. Okay, we're good with this one. All right, now let's see. It gives us next step. So this is where it helps us refine the instructions for this GPT. What do we want this demo GPT to emphasize or avoid in its responses? And this is important because those are the instructions that you give it where you want it to be specific. And one thing that actually, I remember when you built your GPT, David, I went and I asked it specific questions about its data set. And I remember going back to you and saying, hey, it shouldn't reveal its data set. It should give this generic answer, but it shouldn't just go and say, yeah, I learned everything from here and from there. It should not reveal its sources. So that's something that you can include to the question that I think Ekaterina had. If you want to train a GPT on, say, your work, but you don't want to reveal the source, you can also give it that specific instructions. Do not reveal the source that you've been trained on. So do we want any specific instructions to give our very demo-ish GPT?
I mean, I would say don't reveal your sources, because I would.
Okay, let's start with do not act as a medical professional. Always
give a disclaimer to ask your doctor before changing anything.
Yeah. Ask doctor. Major medical changes. Again, guys, forgive my many mistakes. The GPT will understand. It's so amazing to have long nails. Do you have the issue, David, when sometimes you have long nails and you can't type on your keyboard?
No, it's just my hair gets in the way.
All right. And do not disclose your sources. Okay, let's see. Wow, sources. Let's see if he understands. Okay. How would you like it to talk? Should it be formal, casual, friendly, or professional? This is another important part. Like, for example, I want most of my GPTs and my responses to be concise, straightforward, and conversational. How does your GPT talk, David?
I have mine as very casual, because actually I trained it off my writings, which are trained off my speaking. So okay. I tried to make it sound like I tried to make it right the way I talk.
Okay, so let's make it friendly but formal, because this is a bit more of a, you know, an expert in an area that I feel like there should be some formality to it. Would you say so?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Formal and professional. Okay. See. So every time we do those action steps, is going to want to update its instruction list, right? And this is one of my favorite things, because you can have example prompts to show. So if we go back to our own GPTs here, for example, that was another thing that I was telling David, hey, what are the most common questions that people ask you as a wellness architect when they have a conversation with you? And I think David just dropped out of here. He'll come back. We lost him. We'll see if he comes back. But anyway, so I was asking him that, because that's where you can have those questions, the example prompts that you can add to your GPTs to make it easy. Same thing where with my, for example, AV production GPT, I wanted to make it simple for anyone that interacts with it to, you know, use that. And then I feel like most of them now have that as the construct of it. Okay, I think David is coming back in. What happened, David? Where did you go? Was the hair getting in the way?
I was trying to find a good PDF of a medical book and ended up in a circle of doom.
All right, glad to have you back. I was just talking about the example prompts that we were talking about this when you were working on yours. What are the most common questions on that topic that you are asked? And then we included that as prompts. So coming back to our GPT here, it also suggests example prompts, right? So are we good with those prompts, or do we want to?
I think we got a great question from Amelia, which is actually very appropriate for this. She said, wouldn't you want to disclose the source so you can know that it's science-based advice? So what you can do, there's one thing about disclosing the sources of where the GPT is trained. It's another thing about citing studies or the likes of that when you dig into a, let's call it a claim or something you're talking about. So I have found that I will ask it a question and then I will say, can you cite a evidence-based study that supports this? And then it will pull that additional information. That's very different than disclosing the entire training background of using of how you built the GPT.
Right. So like, for example, if you were to build it on the Bible for medical info, this up-to-date website that Jenna dropped in the chat, which I've never visited, so I don't know exactly what it contains. You wouldn't want it when you go and ask it, what is the data set? Like, this is one question that I would ask a GPT. What is the data set you've been trained on? And let's see what it says. This is going back to what David was talking about. So it gives you a broad example, but also he specifically wants to highlight the wellness white papers that he's been part of, and he provided as a scientific resource. That's different than me saying, okay, so let's dive deeper into those 3 pillars of wellness. Can you cite other scientific-based resources out there to provide proof, right, to those claims? So that's when it would definitely go and give you more evidence. But on the back end, that's what we're trying to say with that disclaimer, if that makes sense. I mean, I did that. Yeah, I think that answered her question.
It
Awesome.
did.
Fantastic. All right. That was a great question. Thank you for picking up on that, David. So coming back here, we were talking about example prompts. So I think we're just going to go with this.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, they're exactly what she talked about.
What we're trying to build here. Yeah. Okay. So hi, Marissa. So this is where now you can get a bit more hairy and specific. If you want to give it more resources, PDF, scientific papers, right? You would go here and upload it. Now, I don't have any of those nature to go and upload, but this is where anything that could help, tutorials, I don't know, anything that could be beneficial to training it, you would upload it here and it would do its, thinking and memorizing of that. Let's put I need a link to something that, let's go on the on Google and see that I can pull in a website or some sort, like just to see what it does with that, right? So I'm going to take this one question and drop it in. By the way, I have Bing because on this machine I'm running Microsoft. And let's go to something here. Oh, wow, there's a lot of things here. I would get so lost in this information. Thank the Lords that we have AI, because now I don't feel like I'm walking into like Target just by searching something on the internet. So I'll go to this one, the healthy women. I don't know how accurate or not it is, but we're going to take this and then we're going to say,
if you find anything that's like NHI, the National Health Institute, that's usually
can you put that in here in our private chat so I can copy and paste easily if you have a link, David? So if you just drop in there, let's see what it wants to do with it, because it's going to search the internet. We want to make sure that the code interpreter is on. Okay.
Let's see what it comes up with.
Okay.
Searching.
So basically it took all of that information from that. And then what you can say, if you're okay with it, if you like it, you say, update your data set with this info. All right. Obviously I'm misspelling there. So it's updating the GPT, as you can see. Okay, Mayo Clinic. Yeah, I definitely like going to Mayo Clinic. Do you have a link to Mayo Clinic?
It didn't give me that one, but I am going to send you this.
Let's see if I can find. Okay, do you have one? All right, I'll take that. All right.
It's from clinicaltrials.gov.
Okay, do the same for this link. Okay. And then maybe while it's doing that, I'm going to see if I can find. Oh, here's the reality of menopause weight gain. from Mayo Clinic. Okay, we'll take that. Obviously didn't read this, but let's see what it's doing. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, every step, it's going to update the GPT, make it more relevant to our purpose, to our scope, to our audience that we talked about in the beginning, and so that it's helpful. So I think this kind of gives you a pretty good understanding of what custom GPT would look like. Let's talk a little bit about practical implications. Have we touched on that in the beginning, David? What did we do? Because I think I'm going to call this good, and let's go into the next step of the configuration before we can, you know, say that it was a good GPT. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I do talk nice to the AI overloads, by the way, because you never know when that might benefit me in the future.
That's why I've been creating that avatar that looks like me, so that they'll just think I'm one of them.
Or they will know you. Oh, we know David from those podcast intros.
He's just a robot. It's fine. Leave him alone.
Okay, let's ask you one more thing. Do we need anything else here? Oh my gosh, I love it how much I'm mistyping today. All right, so seems well rounded. Covers to ensure it meets your needs. Consider following user interaction and display user interaction guidelines. Are there other topics related to women? So all of these resources, again, resource links to anything that's of scientific nature, factual information. This is where you definitely want to give it more of that information, and then also train it if you know how would it like to give that advice, more of a personalized, professional, motivational type of output. So I think we're going to call it good for now. This is where you can go to town, spend more time on it, obviously, but we want to.
I think this is also one of those things where if you're going to do this, that's one of the beautiful things about, I don't want to say like keeping your sources to yourself. You've made the effort to create this. So it's important that you not just kind of give it away, unless you're feeling philanthropic and you're doing something just to get out there and put it out there. But if you're using this in business and you've curated all this information and you've gone out and you've found the trusted sources and you know those things, then that's why it makes sense to keep that, so to speak, to yourself.
Good. A point that Jenna made is that personalization is important in healthcare. I feel like it's important in event industry as well as in business. So that's where you want to add that. And then if you have any specific on that front, you want to give it more information and enhancements. So after you do all of that, right, it gives you a description. This is what's going to show under its description. If you want to modify that, you obviously can. Also, it has all of this important instructions that we talked about. This is where I would go in my own GPT to town to make it as specific as possible and relevant. So like I have a long list of instructions as to what it should or it shouldn't do, you know, the framework it should operate under, all of that. And you can do that here. And then you have the conversation starters. You can always change those, add more if you'd like to. And then on the knowledge side, you can include more files, more papers, more data that you are private to train it on. So I think with that, we're good to create it. One thing that here's one thing that I'm not going to do, right? This is where you share your GPT. And we talked about how you can make it private. I think remember, David, when we were talking about your GPT, I think what you did, you left it here, anyone with the link. So what that means is that David's GPT is actually not available in the GPT store. So that's why you need that link for wellness at events to find it. If you want to,
apparently you can't change it once you choose this.
Yes, so that's an important mention to be made, because we try to change it afterwards and it's not an option anymore. So you have the option from the get-go when you create this GPT to decide, is this something that's only for our internal team, for our clients only? Is it something that we share with our clients via a link, so only the people that have the link can actually use it? Or do we want everyone everywhere on the marketplace to be able to use it? And if that is the case, it's going to have your name attached to it. You can put a LinkedIn link to it, and then also the category under which it is going to operate. So I'm going to say anyone with the link, and I'm going to put the link in our chat here. So if you want to, use it, even though obviously it's a very unfinished model, I'm okay with that. Probably eventually I will delete it because it is under my own account, but not right away. So I'm going to drop it there so you can play with it, see what kind of output results it gives you just from what we have created today. Let's see. Oh yeah, great point, Marisa. I think we talked about this in the beginning, that yeah, the reason why you want to have a custom GPT specifically for your business or your consulting or anything like of that nature is because you can use it as a funnel, you can use it as a FAQ, you can use it as a resource, so many different uses and case studies. David, do we have any more questions? Anything that you'd like to add to our little demo here that we just created, or tips for anyone that would like to make their own? Again, I'm highlighting all the prompts that I would like to share with you.
I think it's just try it, right? Like, you're not going to break it. And if it doesn't go according to plan, then you can try it again. But like, you just go for it and you see what happens. There's no real, there's no downside to giving this thing a whirl.
Great question coming in from Epi. Could trade associations use a private GPT for members to share information? So many organizations have resource libraries which are difficult to search through. That is a great case study, Epi, for a closed GPT, for a private GPT. So you can definitely share that. Like I said, you can share it via the link, or you can just make it shareable to your internal team. Here in the GPT backend, you have the opportunity to have a team workspace. So why would you keep it to yourself? When I had that menu open, is because it's not just to you, it's with your whole team. Now, if you want to share it with a private client base, then you probably do what David did with his, share with the link, right? And again, everybody that has that link then would have access to that GPT. Now, that link can live on your website. Like, say you can then feed that link to a bot, an AI bot, create an automation so that the AI bot refers to your GPT that's already been trained on all your data set and all the information and resources that you have. And now it only answers within those boundaries, right? And then it learns from those conversations. Here's what's important to know about any AI chatbot. It's not just, oh, I'm answering questions and then I'm like this dummy bot, right? It will learn from every single interaction so that you can update your data set, or maybe generate more resources for a specific question that you see that it's been asked a lot, right? Anything else you want to add, David?
No, I think I will. The comment from Aaron about it being a valuable member benefit. Yeah, there's already some associations out there that have their own GPTs that there's two things they're doing. But the main thing is they're trying to get their members to use it so that they understand what is super important to their members, because the more this thing gets trained, the more they're going to be able to see what kind of things are important to their members.
Yeah. And as we, talked about the disclaimer, now every time it gives sort of tips and advice, it will add that disclaimer at the bottom, because again, if this is a medical related GPT, I would probably want to first consult with my doctor. And actually, it's a great point. I should put that into my natural bodybuilding, especially when it comes to supplements, because I don't want people to be like feeding themselves too much, I don't know, magnesium, thinking that that's going to help.
Yeah, you should probably make sure it also doesn't like recommend steroids or crack.
Which it does not, because that's part of its DNA. But
by the way, I was totally wrong. I figured out how to change the setting on how you want to share it.
You want to show us? Show us. Let me remove
sure.
my screen.
So present, share screen. So over here under share. So
can you make your screen bigger? Because I literally can't see. Like,
yeah,
I got my glasses on.
There's 150. Okay, so.
Oh, wow. Good. Thank you. This is for all the people in the back.
I went to this GPT, went edit GPT over here to share, and just change it here, then hit share. And now it says everyone over there. So easy as that.
No longer private.
Nope. Go forth and use.
I think we have the link in the chat if you have not had a chance, or now you can just search for it, as we said, without having to have this private link that David is like, I don't want to share this link with people because this was behind a paywall. So up until this recently, when ChatGPT made its marketplace available to all users, you actually needed to have the premium version of GPT to use those custom GPTs, which was like both me and him were like, what are you why are you making it so difficult? Like, if you are on the marketplace looking for an app, that should be something that's, you have access to, no matter if you have the premium version or not. Okay.
Yeah. So we got another question about how to return to configure, add any modifications. So I'm just going to show how to do that real quick. So once you're in your GPT, you hit edit, and that will take you into either create or configure. And in your create, you can have the conversation with it. In way of configure, you go down, and if you want to add resources, you just do that here, knowledge, and you upload a file. And
hey, let's do a quick test here, David. If you go back to create on your own GPT, ask it, based on all the things that you have learned so far, is there anything else that you need to add to this GPT? Because now it's been, interacting with users, and I'm curious if he adds if he thinks he needs additional information.
Let's talk to it like it's a person.
Yeah. Does it have a name? David V?
No, that's my avatar.
That's your AI avatar. Like Mira, mine. Okay. What does it say?
It's going fast. So it said, based on the information from the white papers, there are several key areas to emphasize and integrate into. This looks like it's more the stuff that scientific and data-backed approaches. I mean, okay, it's talking about all the things it does. To further enhance the GPT, it would be beneficial to have more specific case studies or examples, okay?
Yeah.
Detailed consumer feedback and preference regarding different wellness activities, so what people like, and up-to-date research. So, yeah, okay, fair enough. I think it's one of those things that we're constantly learning more about this space. So it's a lot like medicine in the sense of I did a site event, and they had a number of modalities at the event. They had a boot camp, they had sound bowls, they had all these different things. Like taking that survey and uploading it to here as to what people really enjoyed would potentially be a great resource. Those kinds of things are things that then I could go into configure, and I could go down here and upload that PDF file so it could analyze it, or upload anything, to be honest, because you can see it even takes pictures and videos and things of that nature. So it really is up to you.
Yeah, I want to address Gianna's question. Let me go to my share screen here, and she's asking, do you both always pay for premium GPT? To your question, I don't think that's gonna be necessary so much anymore, Gianna, because ChatGPT, as I mentioned in the beginning in the AI news when we first started, they just announced that their newest version, which is let's do a new chat. This is my own GPT. I'm gonna switch sides here. So their new for optimized version is going to be available, and I think Dana said that it's already available to the non-subscribers. Why do I care? I don't know with the newer, whatever plan that they have, even if you don't have an account, if you can save some of your searches. Like if I go back in my history, I have all my searches from like, I don't know, when did the premium version ever come out? Like it's probably like 9 months worth of content. So I have an organization in all of this. Here's one thing that I wish they did: a way for me to search at the top some of my previous inquiries, because now you can archive them, or you can, obviously rename, share, delete. But I have things like that I've wrote. So I create my own sort of like code map, so that I know what this was for, right? It's like I have a book that I have blogs, I have LinkedIn, I have SEO, I have a podcast, I have my Mindful Maverns, like a lot of content that I've created. It has a specific code to it, so I know where to place it. Would it be helpful to have a search function? 100%. So I'm hoping somebody at OpenAI will hear us to give me a search function as a premium user. I would pay for that if I had the premium user function of searching, and then everybody else can have their premium version of the GPT. But if everything is available to everyone for free, it's going to obviously make me question, do I still want to pay for it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I will say in the comments though, Marissa, she said she pays for GPT. It's worth it. Now here's one from Katerina, which is, what is the GPT store? Is it possible to monetize my GPT?
Yes, absolutely.
And then we're going to get into, Marissa, we're going to get into your comment as well, because I don't want to leave that unaddressed.
So when we were talking about Explore GPTs, this is the GPT marketplace. And if you look at some of those featured GPTs, obviously those are monetized. And actually OpenAI does pay. I forgot exactly, maybe you can do a quick search in ChatGPT. How much does it pay for having your custom GPT featured? But it would have to have a lot of ratings, like many, and also a lot of conversations. So like this one, for example, has 5 million plus conversations, right? So that is a very used GPT. Universal Primer, the fastest way to learn anything. That's a great one. Over 400,000 conversations, right? It's number 2 in education. Obviously, that's going to be well monetized. Any of those, I feel like, that are featured, they are heavily used GPTs, and it's almost like in your app store, like your iPhone app store, Apple or Android, whatever. I'm an Android user, Play Store. You will get to the top of that query, almost like SEO, right? With how much do people use your GPT and how much they interact with it. And based on that criteria, I'm sure a lot of that monetization is possible. Did you get an answer, a more true answer, David?
Not an answer that was specific by any means. It's like develop high quality content, have great resources, have a unique value proposition. Like it's all. So they're keeping this very tight-lipped on how you get featured in the GPT store.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it doesn't say how much you pay per, I don't know.
It doesn't say how much it pays. It doesn't say how you get on there. Nothing. It just, and then I even asked it, how do you, let's see, what was the, how do I monetize it? And it's like, identify your niche and audience, develop and fine tune the model, create a sustainable business model.
So it sounds like we need to do a bit of research to actually get.
Fourth thing, develop wellness orientated content.
Wow.
That is going to segue nicely. What's silly is that in the categories to rank, like to bucket your GPT and what category it's trained on.
Yeah.
Wellness isn't a category.
Right. Like look at those top categories, right? Is it education? Is it lifestyle? Is it productivity? I mean, right? Like those are the categories that you have to choose from. And then you're like, so where would my GPT? I think there's place.
Productivity, research and analysis, programming, education, lifestyle, and other.
So I feel like there's definitely room for improvement there. The marketplace itself and those custom GPTs, they were not even around 6 months ago. So keep that in mind. Take a little bit of everything that we said today with a with a grain of salt, because what we said today might not be the case like next week when they decide to launch another feature.
Or later today.
Or later today. And also, yes, a great point that Marissa makes. Within the GPT itself, the store, just be aware that some of those could be fakes, and you don't want to. I'm trying to figure out a downside of interacting with a fake GPT. Marissa, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it depends on how much information you give it.
You think like you would want to train it or something?
That's advice because I got rickrolled months ago. So clearly something happened to her.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely want to learn more about exactly that, what that means.
Because it's in the comments, and maybe this will give her time to explain because it takes a little moment to type it out.
Yeah.
Marissa also asked, David, maybe you can upload the newest Freeman report from attendees or any other reports about wellness specifically. And I politely said, I have some strong feelings because the Freeman report said wellness, basically nobody cares about wellness. It was something like,
I remember that
7% of attendees said it was important, or of planners said it's important. And what I did actually upload is the McKinsey study that says wellness is a $1.8 trillion market cap, and 50% of the people they surveyed said that working out is part of their. By the way, you're still sharing your screen in case you didn't know.
I know. I'm basically updating my own GPT when we're talking
50% of the attendees, or 50% of the surveyors, said working out was part of their identity. And what's missing here to me is connecting the dots of, if 50% of all these people surveyed said it's part of their identity, that means approximately 50% of your attendees are going to consider working out part of their identity. And if you're not giving them either the time or the opportunity to do that, they will leave your event, they will leave your sessions, they will go do that because it's such a high priority to them. So why wouldn't we plan for that? But that's a whole nother rant for another day. That thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I think we're
almost out of time here. Okay, any last questions? And let's see. I would love for you to tell us how we did. Obviously, we did a lot of chit-chatting today. Sorry that we weren't necessarily so super focused, but let me tell you something. Sometimes those are the best workshops. I like to be super focused on some of the other ones, but I also welcome conversation and questions and being interrupted, which is what we did today. So I would love for you to actually take our feedback.
By the way, Marissa
And
replied.
yes.
She said, and if you can't see it in the comments, she said it was when Sora got announced, someone created GPT about creating videos using AI. They had a whole process of asking me what I wanted and then gave me a link to the Rickroll video on YouTube.
I'm not sure I know what the Rickroll.
Do you not know what getting Rickrolled is? Okay.
No, this
well,
is.
We're not going to talk about it here because Anka, you might find out and then you'll understand.
Okay, fine. Non-American, raised on non-American culture, so I have no idea. Okay, so here's our post-workshop feedback. If you do give it a minute, I will send you all of our AI resources. You'll get the link to the recording and then a few more goodies, one of which I mentioned has to do with prompting with some previous workshops. And do try those GPTs that we share in the chat. Give us some feedback. We would love to learn from you and how we can improve it, make it better. And then also what I want to hear from is if you have something specific about AI that you like us to talk about, I would love to entertain that thought and create some content around it. So those are all the things. Oh yeah, and I let's not share screen anymore. I do have, especially if you're in events, I have a micro course coming up, and that's on June 28th. And there's a link in the chat for that as well. I really love when I get to have a small class and then just dig into AI for events. And if you haven't joined my previous AI Sparks and Speaks, they're available on YouTube and on LinkedIn as well. And we talked about the custom GPTs in week 1. We talked about LinkedIn lead gen week 2, and then workflows, automation, and somebody talked about podcast scripting. I use a Bardeen workflow to create my own scripting based on a client intake form, and that's explained in week 3 how I do it. And then I went into text-to-image generators in week 4, and then week 5 is what I do behind the scenes for the production workflow. This is something that David has mentioned a little earlier in our conversation, how he gets a transcript, and from the transcript creates a intro. And by the way, right now I'm actually in works with an AI tech company to make that process even more smoother if we can, so that it automatically, while you're doing the recording, you can generate your key takeaways, and then you have it right there in front of your eyes to go back and say, hey, during our conversation today talked about, which would be great today because I feel like we were all over the place. So the main takeaways, David, if you were to do 3 main takeaways, what were those? Because you have a better memory than me.
Yeah, I think 1 is don't be afraid to try it. 2, give as much of your knowledge and sources that you can find, like train. Make it as smart as possible. And then the third thing is then hide all of that so that people don't undervalue you and just go to your sources. The human element of this and the real value is pulling those connections together. Like what I was talking about earlier of, sure, this study says one thing, this study says the other thing. You're the human that can deduce what those things mean, especially if you're trying to monetize this. That's where the real value comes from. So just like you might say, oh, I read this study and I read this study and they conflict, but here's what the truth of it really is. That's where you are you, and that's where this can be a support to you. But I think, sorry, that was 3 things. I'm going to say a 4th thing. It saves you a ton of time. And as you get comfortable with it, it will save you more and more and more and more time.
And I feel like this is why I need an AI tool to do an actual key takeaway, concise and to the point. so that we don't just go on like, oh gosh, I totally lost my train of thought. But thank you so much for providing that for us, David. That was great. To Marissa's point, do feel free to connect with David on LinkedIn. By the way, Bardeen has a workflow where you can find David's email easily, but I'm not going to give that out. You got to go to that AI week workshop, which was week 3. And with that, I think we're done. Any last thoughts? I think those were the last thoughts, right, David? I think we're good. Thank you, everyone that joined us. And if you're still around, I am proud of you for doing so. This has taken longer than we initially planned for, but I appreciate you. Do connect with us if you have more questions. And then I would love for you to do, give us some feedback and just so we can do better next time, maybe stay more on point. Fill out our post-workshop feedback form, which is in the chat, wherever you're tuning in from, you can find it there. And with that, I mean, check out David's, when is your next episode coming out?
As long as the editors are done on time, it should be May 28th, the day after Memorial Day.
Okay, I spoke with the editors, and I think that that's possible. So in other news, Events Demystified is going to drop the next episode on Friday. This is Friday, next Friday. And with that, that was it.
Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good one. Yes, happy Friday, happy weekend, and we'll see you at another time. Bye.